So we have two parts. So the first part will be dealing with the, you will be accessing the data inside a file, inside a text file. So meaning to say, if for the first part, you will be dealing with text file, because you can store numbers in the text file, because maybe when you do the computation and then at some point you want to save the generated numbers, because maybe tomorrow you want to continue doing your computation, or maybe you want to pass the information or the data, the numbers, to your friends in another machine or another laptop or PCs. So you have to store these information or these numbers into a file, and then from that file, what you do is you just copy and paste and give it to your friends, and then at some point your friends needs to be able to read that particular file. Well, you have to specify a certain format. Meaning to say, if you want to store a point, so how are you going to express those points, that point, in a text file? Maybe you want to print it vertically, or maybe you want to print it horizontally, or maybe you want to put some labels. Then you have your own format, okay? But the thing is, your own format is not a global format, okay? Maybe your friends understood your formatting. Maybe he or she knows on the meaning of your file. But for other people, they are not able to read your file because they don't really understand your format. So meaning to say, let's say, for example, if you want to open a PowerPoint file, then it has to be the .ppt extension, because the .ppt extension is a PowerPoint format. So it has a certain formatting such that all machines understood on how to read that file. They have the same consensus. They have the same understanding programmed by the original programmer on how to read that particular file, and then we have the same file format, and then your computer will be able to read any .ppt files. PPT, the PowerPoint extension file. From there, you are able to read that PowerPoint file. He created his own. So here, now let's go through the introduction of data I/O. Normally, modern computational physicists deal with massive random amount of data, not random numbers. Yeah, I'm sorry. You will be dealing with a massive amount of data. For example, if you are a geophysicist, if you are a geophysicist, then you will be dealing with a lot of numbers. For example, the wind speed, and then you have to plot the wind speed and whatsoever. So, meaning to say, you need a lot of information. For example, if you are dealing with the remote sensing research, then you have to download a large amount of data from the internet, where they put the data on the internet. So all researchers can use that particular data, but the data itself is huge. It is a huge amount of numbers, no? So you have to store these numbers into a certain file. And then, of course, you are not going to use Excel. Microsoft Excel, you are not going to use Excel to process the data. For example, if you want to calculate the average of 1,000,000 numbers, then you are not able to use Excel to do that, because in Excel you have to drag and drop and whatsoever. So it will lead to lagging. It will freeze the window, because Excel is not tailored to cater a huge amount of data, a huge amount of numbers. So what we do is we will be using Python. So here, in Python, you can also store your data into the text file, as well as the CSV files. So I'll explain about CSV files if I got an extra time, but basically they are the same. For example, here you want to store the value of x ny into a file, into a text file, the .txt file. So what you do is you create a variable, and then you put the equal sign, and then you type in open. You have to remember this, yeah. This is the grammar you have to remember. So the first argument, okay, the first argument will be the file location. So maybe I place this in C users RBE and then my file .txt. So you need to take note that if you want to use the backslash, then you have to put the double backslash in your code, because this is the escape character. If I got an extra time, I'll explain you about the escape character. Yeah. Okay. I'll show you the example. So, but the thing is, Python will detect the double backslash here as a single backslash. So I'll explain to you later if I got an extra time. So whenever you are dealing with a backslash, then you have to specify double backslashes in Python, like this. Yeah, take note. Yeah. And then next, your second argument will be the file opening mode. Whether you want to modify that file or your intention is just to open the file without modifying it, then you have to specify the reading mode. If you want to open the file and you want to modify the file, if you want to open the text file and then you want to modify the text file, then you have to open using the write mode. So you have to specify whether it is R or W. So here I have the options here. We have the options. So here I am using W. So W here is for opens a file for writing only. It will overwrite the existing file. If the file does not exist, then it will create a new file. So that's the meaning of that. So we have to read these one by one, yeah? Because in Python, we have many modes, but I have selected some of them that are important. So we have 6 of them. You have to, the thing is, I don't really test you on this, yeah? Because I am not teaching you about the programming language itself, but I'm teaching you on how to open the file. So you have to remember whether you need to use R or R plus or W. Okay, so it's up to you. Okay, I hope you are okay. Yeah. Yeah. So here, for example, here I want to print the value of X and Y into a text file using Python. Of course, you can use a naive way where you use the notepad and then you open the notepad and then you type in 10 and 12. So that's the naive method lah. So basically, I'm telling you instead of using a notepad, you can use Python to do that as well. So for this particular example, it's going to be I don't know, it is going to be trivial. No? Oh, why do we need to use Python to put 10 and 12? So this is just an example. So for this particular case, you use the notepad. Okay. So if you have a huge amount of numbers, then this will be the best way. So you are not going to use notepad and then type in one by one. So no. So you are going to use Python. So here maybe you want to put some commands, demonstration, and then the position is X, Y, and then you print the value of X and Y. And remember, I taught you on the number format. You can use the number formatting as well. You can use the same idea. So here, the precision of the number is 5. So it will print 5 zeros here, 10.00000 5 times. And then it will print as a float number. And then if you change this to E, then it will print in scientific form. Okay? I hope you are okay with this. And then you print the value of X and Y. So, and then next, the most important part is once you have done with the process, when you have done modifying the file, what you do is you need to close the file. So if you forgot to close the file, then it will lead some errors. No? I'm not sure about the errors because I never done any errors with these. So I think it's easy instead of, I think it's easy. You just need to specify my_file.close. So initially you declare my_file as a variable, as an object, which is a file object. And then you initialize the file object as using the open function here. This is a built-in function in Python, yeah? And then you specify the location of your file, and then you specify the read mode, okay? After you modify the file, then you have to close the file, okay? So that's the idea. And then next, if you want to read that particular text file, you use the same function, which is open. Previously, I have mentioned to you on how to write the file. Am I right? Okay. And then now, if you want to read that file, so what you do is you use the same statement as well. You use the same statement, but here you change this to R. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter whether you use R or W because both modes enables you to enable you to read the file, whether R or W plus, I suppose. But for W, I'm not sure whether you can read the file. But to be safe, you need to follow the instruction here. You have to follow the reference here. So meaning to say is, I think R and W plus will be the same thing. You can always read the file because here is reading as well, and then here W plus is both writing and reading. Okay. So W without the plus sign is only for writing. So that's the idea, yeah. So reading a text file, you'll be using the same statement here, but the thing is, you have to change this to R, or you want to change it to W plus. It's up to you, depending on your situation, whether you want to modify and write, or you want to write only. So it's up to you. So and then you use the loop here. You use the for loop to iterate through the lines. So in your text file, maybe you have many lines in the text file. Okay, let's say there are 5 lines, so you are iterating through these 5 lines. Okay, so for each line in the text file, here you can do anything. You can read the file, or you want to print the line. It's up to you. Maybe you want to read the file and you want to reprint. You want to reprint the information, the content of the file, into your console, no, into your Python output. So you just put the print function here, and then this is your line. So line here is a variable. You can put any names to it. You can put my line. You can put any names. So basically here is a variable. Here as well, it's a variable as well. But here you have to call the object, and then you have to use the dot operator to access the method or the function of this particular object, which is read lines. So it is a function that returns an array of lines. Okay, it will return a Python list. So the element of the list will be a string of each line. Do you get the idea? So it will return a list of strings where each string represents the entire line of the text file. Okay. For example, here I have 5 lines. Actually, I have 6 lines, but the last line is an empty string. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for each line, meaning to say Python will go through one by one. Okay, now let's say I am Python. So for each line, so for the first iteration, I'll give you the first line here, which is a string, parameter 1 equals to 10.5. And then I proceed with the next iteration for the second line here. And then it goes on and on until the end of the file. So for example here, if you want to extract an information, for example, you want to extract parameter 2. So this is the format, yeah? The format here, it depends on the file creator. Okay, as long as you and the file creator have the same understanding, okay, meaning to say, okay, parameter 1, and then we should put the equal sign here. You should have the same understanding. It can be in any formats, yeah? This is not something related to Python, okay? So here, parameter 1, let's say your friend, he created a file which contains a certain information, and then he told you the formatting. So now you understood that, okay, parameter 1, so this is the form of the information. Maybe your friend can put the parameter 2 over here, to the right hand side, and then he separate the two parameters with comma. So you can do any format that you like, but the thing is you have to have the same understanding with the file creator. If you yourself creates the file, then it's okay because you know how to read it. But if your friends created the file, then you have to ask your friend, okay, how to read the file so that I can program a Python instruction so that it will read your file. For example, here I want to extract my parameters. So here is the content of my text file, and then I open my file. Excuse me. I open my file, and then I set VZ to 0. So meaning to say I want to extract a value from here, and then I want to store that particular value inside the VZ variable here. And then I go through each line using this particular statement, okay? So we will do the looping. We will loop for each line, this line, this line, this line, this line, and this line, okay? And then we will loop through all of these lines. So if vector 1 in line, let's say for each line here, if there is the token vector 1, so this is a token, yeah, the string token. So a string token is a small fraction of the string. For example, here I have vector 1 is a token, the equal sign is a token, 12.1 is a token, token, yeah, token. So if vector 1 is in line, then you set the value of VZ. Okay. So you set the value of VZ. So for example here, if you want to extract negative 20.1 and then you want to store negative 20.1 into VZ, then you have to find the variable name first over here. And then if the vector 1 token is in the line, then you extract the information. So here, to extract the information, you have to use the variable here, line. So line, you have to split into tokens. So here I have my lines, line number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I can divide my line, I can split my line using the empty character, the blank space as I can use the blank spaces as my splitter. So I'll split my line here into tokens. I will generate a few tokens using my line here, using the white space. So the white spaces or the blank spaces as the delimiter. So delimiter means it is a separator between token. So token number 1 is separated by this particular white space or blank space. And then token number 2 is the equal sign here, which is separated by the blank space here and the blank space here. So basically the function here, line dot split here, will split. It will split the line, okay, because the current line, because you are iterating through each line. So for example, the current line is this line, then line dot split will split the entire string here into tokens, into a Python list, okay. Then in the Python list will consist of vector 1, equal sign, 12.1, 23.0, and negative 20.1. So that's the idea. So for example here, if I use the line dot split for this particular line, then it will be the output of split function will be a list of strings. Okay, so a list of token, which is actually a list of strings. Okay, which has 5 elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. Okay, it will return a Python list which consists of 5 elements. So basically it will take 0, 1, 2. So basically it will take this guy. Okay, let's say if I insist to extract minus 20.1, then I have to change this to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to change this to 4. Okay, so because it begins from 0, so the first token is 0, the second token is 1, 2, 3, 4. So because I want to extract this particular token, minus 20.1. So I have to use 4. I have to access the element of the list. So here is actually a Python list. You know, the blue selection here will be returning a Python list, which consists of vector 1 equal sign 12.1, 23.0, 20.1, and then you are extracting the last element. Okay, so here we have 5 elements, so the last element will be the 5th. So it begins from 0. The index begins from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to use 4. But the thing is, it is a list of strings. So because token itself is a string, okay, so you have to convert into a number. So you have to use the float here, float function. And then finally, what you do is you close your file and then you print the value of vz. Okay, I hope you can see this here. You close the file and then you print the value of vz.